reporting. Joining me now, Director of the Margaret Thatcher Center for Freedom at the Heritage Foundation, Nile Gardiner. Good evening, Nile.
Good evening, Ed. How are you?
What are your thoughts on this Sunday evening as we try to reflect on what we've seen play out?
Well, certainly an historic couple of days here, but not necessarily a game changer, because at the end of the day, we're still dealing with a monstrously evil tyrant Kim Jong-Un, who heads a brutal and barbaric regime. And that is the reality that we face. This is a North Korean regime that has not actually made any concessions whatsoever over the past few years. And it's a regime, I think, that we have to confront with strength and resolve at every single opportunity. So today's meeting certainly very significant, but the reality is that nothing has changed on the ground. And we have to ensure that the United States and its allies really stand up to the North Korean regime at every single opportunity and ensure that we see some real change in the behavior of what is an extremely menacing dictatorship in Asia.
It is indeed, Nile, and you raised some very important questions we talked about at the top of the hour about this awful human rights record, among other things, by this dictator in North Korea. But I put that question to Republican Congressman Andy Biggs, and he said we deal with all kinds of bad actors around the world all the time. We've done that for many, many years. And to your point, we need to keep the pressure on. Does the president get some praise, though, for the economic sanctions, for example, that maybe have brought Kim Jong-Un to the DMZ, among other things, the pressure he's feeling both economically and on the world stage?
Well, firstly, I think that we could be applying far more pressure in terms of the human rights situation in North Korea. An estimated 80,000 to 120,000 political prisoners are held in gulags in North Korea. And in some cases, 3 generations of families are put in prison because of political dissidents who are persecuted by the North Korean regime. Owning a Bible is a very serious offense in North Korea. We have to really put a huge spotlight on the tremendous violations of human rights in North Korea. On the economic front, the sanctions should be enforced fully. They should be tougher. We should see hundreds upon hundreds of North Korean officials targeted by U.S. sanctions. We should see the application of U.S. sanctions against Chinese banks, shipping companies, for example, still doing business with the North Korean regime. And so, although we have a policy of maximum pressure, it hasn't actually been fully enforced so far.
Well, Niall, what about the details that have to happen between the teams on both sides in the days ahead? What do you want to see beyond sanctions? What do you want to see so that we know that it's verifiable that they're going to actually move towards denuclearization?
Well, we have to see the North Koreans actually firmly committing to ending the missile tests that they have been holding. They've been holding a series of short-range ballistic missile tests in recent months. We have to see the North Koreans abiding by 11 UN Security Council resolutions. And so far, there's not a shred of evidence, actually, the North Koreans are abiding by any of these resolutions. We also, at the same time, have to see more pressure being applied on the US side in terms of the reintroduction of allied military exercises between US and South Korean forces, the stronger application of sanctions. We have to really apply the kind of pressure that we're applying on North Korea that we're applying on the Iranian regime. We have to bring this regime to its knees, basically, in order for them to make concessions.
Niall, I hear you saying glass half empty, perhaps. You're being clear-eyed, and that's smart to make sure that we can actually hold this dictator's feet to the fire. But does this president get some credit tonight for getting us to this place?
Well, certainly President Trump is bold and ambitious in his approach, but that has to be matched really by, I think, far stronger actions in practice against North Korea. And so we do need to see significant movement on a number of fronts. But certainly President Trump is determined to deal with the North Korean threat. He's determined to force a change in the North Korean regime's behavior. But the United States has to apply far more pressure in order to get that result. All
right, Nile Gardiner, with a lot of important caveats and context tonight. We appreciate you coming in.
My pleasure. Thank you.
All right.